Hey there, everybody. My name is Chuck, and in today's video, I'm going to be exploring my hometown of Amity, Arkansas. All right, I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Amity Park. It's called the Olds Park, Olds Memorial Park, and it's actually where I went to school. So that'll be pretty interesting. While I was rolling through, one of the things that I always remembered crossing by my house whenever I was riding bikes or walking the roads was the old railroad. This is the Gurdon-Fort Smith Railroad, and it was built in 1900. It's probably the biggest reason why we had a booming lumber industry in the town. It goes right by Beans Lumber Company, and it goes all the way up, I want to say, to Glenwood, and goes all the way down to Gurdon and beyond. And it was very instrumental in helping the lumber industry whenever Amity was growing in the early 1900s. Here's where the railroad would have crossed over Pine Street, but they've already taken up all the rails. They had a plan for it to maybe be like a multi-use trail, but it fell through. None of the landowners wanted to take part in that. All right, and here we are coming up on the Amity Park. And it's also the site of the school that I used to go to. Up until the 4th grade, there was a school here. It was a big brick building, but it's been tore down. But what you're seeing now used to be the old cafeteria. Now it looks like they run the preschool here. I mean, I've seen it various times as I visited my mom over the years, but I guess I didn't put two and two together. But it used to be that right next to this, you can kind of see where the path ends. There was a big old brick building. That was the school that I went to as an elementary school. And here's a picture of that school. It would have been right to the end of that path. It was really old too. I remember my dad went there. Fortunately, they had to tear it down. I don't know if you can imagine it or not, but yes, at one time I was a kid, and yes, I had to go to school. Can you imagine a little 1st or 2nd grade snotty-nosed Chuck Franklin running around where there used to be like playgrounds and swings and causing trouble? That's basically what I did. And today, where the old school stood, they went ahead and made a concession stand and bathrooms for whenever they're having games over at the baseball park. Now, this baseball field has been around for as long as I can remember. I used to play baseball here. I remember one time when I was running laps around here, and I was not a very athletic kid, and I remember passing out during baseball practice. And that was about the only sport I ever played as a kid. But I've got a lot of memories of this place. Here's the dugout. I feel like this has been redone since I was a kid. I feel like when you're coming back to your hometown and reminiscing about being a kid, going back to your old school, which in this case doesn't really even exist, you either have a wave of nostalgia about you or you cringe physically at the thought of you being just the dumbest little kid. There's no in between. Back on the other side of all of those trees and hedges and ruins, that over there is Barksdale's Lumber Company. I remember people that could hit really far knocking baseballs into there, and we had to go under the fence and get them. One of the main reasons that they tore this school down was because obviously it was old. But another reason was because they were going to consolidate the nearby town Glenwood and Amity's school districts together. So what ended up happening is over time, they first made a high school at Center Point, which is between Amity and Glenwood, in Roseboro. And then they went ahead and moved all of the schools up there. There was a high school and a big gym and everything in Amity, but it's all really old. The high school Can't remember who owns it now, but they use it basically to store a bunch of stuff. Kind of a shame, really, but what else are you going to do with a building like that? But one good thing we got out of it is the fact that they did convert this to a park. So you've got a place to go walk, you've got a place to let the kids play a little bit, or you can have a party at the gazebo. This right here is the old concrete basketball court that I remember playing on as a kid. It's still here. I mean, there was no reason, I guess, to tear it up whenever they decided to put the park in. But I remember being a little kid, and we'd go over to that ditch behind us, and we'd catch crawdads all the time. Apparently crawdads love to live in there because it's constantly waterlogged. They didn't really make any drainage for it. I guess with it being in the hottest summer months of the year, the water's finally draining out, but it still looks pretty moist. You can kind of tell that it's always waterlogged. And no, white man can't jump. I cannot dunk a ball. The last kind of interesting thing is right behind me where you see this little place at, there used to be a pool. I remember my dad talking about swimming in it. He was in his, I think he was born, what, 54? So maybe that was in the 60s when he was swimming in it. And my mom talked about my sister swimming in it, which had to have been in the 80s. So it lasted for a while. When I went to school, I remember seeing the pool there, but it was filled in. I guess when they decided to make this park, they went ahead and tore it out completely. Now this is across from the park. I hope I don't get in trouble for filming. Ooh. This is a Masonic lodge, looks like. You know, we always hear things about Masonic fraternities, some good, some bad. I'm assuming that it's all good, but this has been here ever since I remember. Never met a Mason. They've never invited me to their club, so I guess I'm not the kind of person they're looking for. Here we are now at the Amity Town Square. This location was actually settled in 1870. Before that, I want to say in the late 1840s, the town was actually north of the Caddo River, which is maybe a couple miles north of town. Then it moved a little bit further south, and then eventually it came to this location. The place that we're at right now was actually bought originally by Philander Curtis, Riley Thompson, and Jacob Lightsey, I believe. And they actually all pulled their money together in order to go ahead and buy this piece of land. And here's a picture of the general store that was put on that piece of land. See that? I remember in my lifetime in the town square there used to be a fountain, but in 2019 they decided to go ahead and remove it. And I'm assuming partly because it was so hard to maintain. Instead, we now have this flag, and they redid it all. I mean, there's all sorts of like benches where you can sit and enjoy the view. There's like a little stone retaining wall around it. There's lights all over the place. They've really made it a pretty nice and charming area to sit on a pleasant day. And over here on this corner of the square, we've got the old Amity Bank. It's actually a building that's on the National Register of Historic Places. It was built in 1905. And right next door used to be the old Amity laundromat, but it's empty now. I remember being a kid and getting to go inside up here once, and it's exactly what you think an old bank would be like. There's like all sorts of like stalls set up. If I were to look in there right now, I'd have a hard time seeing any of the old stuff, I guess. But it's pretty interesting to have this old building, this piece of history, still be here on the town square. Here's some old stairs that I dare not go up. But you can tell that it had a second story at some point and the windows were boarded up. At various points in time, there have been all sorts of businesses in the town square.
As you can kind of tell by this old photo here, lots of stuff going on in the past.
I remember my dad talking about there being like a drive-in movie theater where the bank is at. I mean, there's been bars, there's been restaurants, just all sorts of stuff. That's just the nature of a town. It's like if business fails, another one moves in. But these buildings are just, again, they're all just as old as can be. A relatively new addition to Amity was a Slate Rock Brewery. It's a microbrewery that exists on the back side of the square, so we can go take a look at that. It's one thing about Amity, it's not necessarily a tourist town. Population might not even be 700 people, so while there are some things to do and enjoy, you don't get to stay the night or vacation in Amity. I mean, you either visit because you have family, or you stop through because you're going to Glenwood or Arkadelphia or Hot Springs. But there are a few places to eat, a few places to get something to drink. It's a nice, quiet, cozy little town. You can see an old Coca-Cola advertisement on the side of this building. It's pretty cool. And here behind me I have the Amity City Hall. I want to say this building was made in like 99 or 2000. It was definitely within my lifetime. And I've only been inside once, but I guess it's nice to have a pretty fresh, updated city hall, although at this point I guess it's 25 years old. But it's also the home of the Amity Volunteer Fire Department. Obviously, I've got a lot of memories in this town. I've kind of always thought of this town as like the typical small Midwest town, but it's not. It's a southern town. So you have to take that into consideration when you think about the town. I mean, there's some agriculture, there's some hunting, there's some fishing. I do have some fond memories here, as well as some questionable ones. It'll always be kind of in my heart, this place. Really don't know much of the history behind this place, but it's just an old stone church behind me. I thought it was kind of cool to see it. This right here is the old ag building. This is where we would process animals like cows and stuff like that. And the building we're going by right now was the old shop for the old Amity High School. I don't think I ever actually remember going in there. The building behind me is the old Amity High School gymnasium. They still use it today for pee-wee ball practice, but I remember playing in there when I was a kid and played dodgeball, we played basketball, we would just do all sorts of stuff. And back whenever I was in school, we were the Rams. And the building we have behind me now is the old Amity High School / grade school / whatever else they use it for. Nowadays, it's owned by somebody and it looks like they got a bunch of cars and stuff outside. I guess they're using it for storage. You can kind of see the outline of the old lettering where it says Center Point School District Intermediate. I remember them doing like preschool or something in the building back there. And then if you look over in that distance, I don't know if you can see it, but the old gymnasium is over there. This building across the road here, that was where they maintained the buses. It was an old shop. I remember going in there one time. It was very greasy. I'm not gonna lie, riding these streets gives me all sorts of memories. I remember going to this place as a kid, but I think it was a Baptist church at the time. But man, that's been years and years and years ago. So this big old house behind me here belonged to my great-grandmother and great-grandfather. Her name was Amity Sheets. I don't quite remember his name. Her name was originally Franklin, but she got remarried. And man, I've got some good memories here. She was a heck of a lady. I remember she used to cook us big breakfasts all the time, and we'd walk down from my mom's and dad's house and we'd come and eat. The house has got to be 100 years old, and there's some magnolia trees out front that are every bit as old, if not older than the house. I've got a lot of good memories of her. I remember she used to grow big vegetable farms whenever she was, or gardens rather, whenever she was able to. Obviously, lots of family accumulated around this house, met, and God, they're spread to the wind at this point, or dead. So when I started this little journey to go up and explore town and explore the town square, I started off at my mom's house, but in order to go see the other places, I'm going to have to hop in my car because I don't feel like riding my bike 30 miles today. The place I've got here behind me is the former site of Bean Lumber Company. It's not Bean Lumber Company anymore, but that's the only thing I know to call it. 1940, one of Kurt Bean's ancestors, I don't know his name, maybe it was his dad, maybe his granddad, actually founded this place. This place was a major area of employment in Amity for a long, long time, and I know that when this place went under, and I want to say that he filed bankruptcy in 2010, a lot of people lost their jobs. There for a while, it was a place where they did something called trade days, in which you would just have a bunch of vendors come through and sell stuff. But then I think recently it was bought by someone in order to start making firewood. So it's back to doing something with lumber, but it's probably not significant. If you look off in the distance, you can just see piles and piles and piles of sawdust. So I guess maybe they're still doing a fair amount of wood here, but I don't know that it was like it was back when it was owned by Kurt. So behind me here, we have Dwiggen's Peach Orchard. I remember it being a big deal as a kid because I thought, well, orchards are cool. You'd go by and you'd always see like Mexicans out in the field picking peaches. I know maybe that's racist to say, but it's true. Today they still sell produce, but I don't think they really maintain the orchard all that much anymore. If you look on Google Earth, you can still see the trees, and even to a certain extent I can look out and see the trees, but it definitely isn't maintained like it used to be. I don't think it's an orchard per se anymore so much as it's a bunch of trees in a fruit market. I mean, you can still see some of the old trees. I can walk over and see if there's maybe any peaches on them. That'd be pretty neat. But you can definitely tell they haven't been maintained, and that's sad. Orchards to me are just like the coolest thing ever. Kind of feel like these are some of the trees, but I can't really see any peaches or anything in them. But then again, I don't know the season for peaches, if I were to be honest. You know, a lot of people ask me, why do you like orchards so much, Chuck? I think orchards remind me of the holidays. I think they remind me of all those fruit pies that we get to eat with our families. I think they remind me of fall, and that's my favorite time of year. And these are all just wonderful reasons to love orchards. But there's something that speaks to me and to the permanence of humanity when somebody gets to grow a tree from a little budling, and they expect it in the next 10 years to turn into something that'll give fruit to everyone. It's almost a selfless endeavor, people that farm and cultivate orchards. Now, you guys know that I couldn't make a video without going to an old ruined bridge. And we've actually got a couple to go to today, so let's see if we can't find them. So we have arrived up here at Old Runyon Bridge. Runyon Bridge was a bridge that went across Lake DeGray, and unfortunately it was washed out a long time ago, I think 1968. But you can still see the remnants of the bridge, and you also get a nice view of Lake DeGray. Here you can see a little bit of the section of the bridge that leads up to the actual lake. It's always amazing to me the power of rivers to knock down what seems to be such a permanent structure. You can see where they mounted up a little dirt here, and four-wheelers have been going through it. And then hiding back here, a road closed sign, which is probably a good idea. Here's a little bit of the concrete showing through. I guess it wasn't really an asphalt bridge. It looks like it was a concrete bridge. Oh. You can see where some people must have came down here and shot off some fireworks. I mean, it is pretty close to July the 4th. But I kind of wish they would have carried the trash out. Looks like nowadays, though, they've made a little bit of like a concrete boat ramp. So if you want to launch a boat here, a kayak, whatever you can. But we're definitely getting into what you would consider DeGray Lake as opposed to Caddo River. So the body of water that we're on now is actually DeGray Lake. The Caddo River flows into DeGray Lake and gets dammed up somewhere along the way. I don't know exactly how big the lake is, but one of the videos I'd like to make in the future is me taking a tour of it. But it's really cool to get to see this piece of history where there was once a bridge, now there is not. You know, seeing this bridge, it just goes to show that you cannot underestimate the power of water. And I mean, I already know this. I've seen so many washed out bridges in my lifetime, but man, once it gets rushing, it can take down anything.
De Israel juraran que harían lo que dijo Secanías. Así que todos hicieron un
Qué loco la historia que estoy escuchando.
Luego Esdras se retiró del
The last place I want to see today is going to be low water bridge on Highway 182. It used to be that there was a low water bridge further up the Caddo River from Runyon Bridge, and it crossed at Highway 182, and it also got washed out, so let's go see it. So a little while back they installed this nice concrete ramp that goes all the way down to the water. It didn't used to be this way. It used to be just like, I don't know, a dirt embankment. And right over here would have been where the bridge actually came out. But you can see down there and right here some of the ruins of old low water bridge. And I can walk out in here a little bit so we can get a better look. As you can tell, it was a one lane. And I don't even know how long ago it got washed out, but over here they put in a high water bridge. I don't necessarily know that I'm willing to get in there like however deep it is in order to get better views of it. It used to be that I'd come down to this area to swim all the time, and I remember that the bridge was there. I just never really thought about the fact that it got washed out. You know, I never even thought about when it was made or anything else. But as you get older, you start to think about these things. This right here is where the bridge would have went off. Obviously, they've got a guardrail here to keep you from running off now, but I don't think anybody's in danger of doing that. And here's where the highway came down. Well, that's all I had planned today. I got to see just about everything that I thought was interesting about my hometown. And hopefully you enjoyed it as well. I want to thank everybody for watching. If you did find this interesting, you like this kind of content, feel free to subscribe to my channel, like the video if you liked it, and definitely have a conversation with me about my hometown. This is one area that I'm probably as well informed as anybody about. If you want to see more content like this, again, subscribe, and thanks for watching. Thanks for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, feel free to subscribe to the channel.